understand the ghost in the room. And I say that not with disrespect, but with reverence. Because David Woolley is not a man who avoided storms. He is a man who was rebuilt by them. We know Kody Brown, the self-proclaimed patriarch who manufactures chaos because he likes the sound of his own thunder. A man who thrives on conflict, triangulation, manipulation, the endless pick-me dance he choreographed for 30 years. But David? David was shaped by a tragedy Kody could never withstand for even a minute. David's first wife, Margaret, the matriarch of the Woolley family, passed away in a way that shattered the entire household. A loss steeped in mental health struggles, a subject that deserves the utmost respect, and one that left scars that would shape David's soul for the rest of his life. When you look at David Woolley, you aren't seeing a simple, good guy. You are seeing a widower who crawled out of emotional rubble, who rebuilt not just a life, but a family, who carried grief as a shadow for years. And here's where things get chilling. Insiders say this trauma, this specific, life-altering loss, is why his children and Margaret's family were so fiercely protective of him. Imagine the Woolley household, a family who had already buried one piece of their heart, a father who walked through fire, a group of children who guarded the empty space beside him like sacred ground. For years, that spot next to David wasn't just vacant. It was holy, untouchable, a place that belonged to one woman only and would never be filled again. Or so they believed. So when Christine Brown, a reality TV figure, a polygamist escapee, a woman whose life had been publicly dissected, appeared at their doorstep, do you think they simply said, "Oh, sure, come right in"? Absolutely not. The Woolley family didn't open the door. Not at first. They studied her. They watched her. They vetted her in ways no one has ever vetted any sister, wife, spouse. Because to them, Christine wasn't auditioning to be a new wife. She was auditioning to inherit a legacy. And what they found, what they told her, what they believed Margaret herself would have said, is the part of the story Kody Brown will never recover from. This is where the story takes a turn. This is where the cameras stop rolling, where TLC has no access, and where the real mythology of Christine and David begins. Because now we enter what insiders call the forbidden diary theory, not a literal notebook found in an attic, but the emotional ledger kept by the family of David Woolley's late wife. A silent record, a private history, a spiritual checkpoint that every potential partner must pass before they get anywhere near David's heart. And according to the whispers, Christine's vetting process made the FBI look like amateurs. Imagine those first behind-closed-doors meetings. Not with David. Not with producers. But with the Woolley women, the daughters, the sisters, the guardians of grief, the protectors of Margaret's memory. Picture Christine, bubbly, hopeful, trying to hide her nerves, sitting across from women who have lived through real, devastating, soul-shattering loss. Women who aren't impressed by reality TV fame. Women who don't care about Kody's ego, Robin's tears, or Mary's B&B renovations. Women who want the answer to one simple, sacred question. Are you here to heal him, or are you here to hurt him? That's where the lost tapes narrative begins. The scenes TLC never got. The spiritual interview nobody filmed. Because insiders believe Christine didn't win David through charm, cooking, or fame. She won because David's children saw something familiar in her, a reflection of the love they once watched their mother give. Some call it destiny. Some call it divine intervention. Others call it a spiritual passing of the torch, the belief that a late spouse guides the right person toward their surviving partner. Whether you believe it or not, the theory is powerful. And here's the contrast. Kody Brown uses the word soulmate like a weapon. He swings it like a hammer. Robin is my soulmate, therefore, you are nothing. Exclusion. Punishment.
Cruel te desguisa das romance.
But Christine and David? Their connection is the opposite. It's expansive. It honors the past instead of erasing it. David speaks openly about his late wife, with reverence, not secrecy. He keeps her memory alive, and in doing so, he gives Christine permission to honor her own past, Not the trauma Kody inflicted, but the strength she built in spite of it. And here's the part that reportedly sends Kody into a panic spiral. He can compete with men, but he cannot compete with a ghost. He can flex. He can posture. He can rant about being stabbed in the kidney. But he cannot outshine the divine approval of a grieving family that knows real love. Because when David's daughter reportedly looked at Christine and said, "She would have liked you," that wasn't a blessing, it was a coronation. It shattered Kody's entire narrative in 6 words. But let's dig deeper. The Woolley family had every reason to be cautious. Christine came from chaos, from a world of jealousy, manipulation, and spiritual scarcity. David's family lived through a tragedy that leaves no room for fake drama or performative tears. They watched sister wives. They saw the gaslighting. They heard the knife in the kidney speech. And they had to ask, is Christine a survivor or is she addicted to the chaos? Insiders believe she had to prove she was done with the circus. She wasn't looking for airtime. She was looking for a sanctuary. Some speculate there was a moment, maybe over coffee, maybe at a quiet dinner, where Christine finally told the truth. That she spent decades feeling unlovable. And in that moment of raw honesty, David's family saw her. Not a celebrity, not a polygamist escapee, but a woman who had been emotionally starved for 30 years. That's when the healer archetype emerged. Not because Christine is perfect, but because she is real. This brings us to David himself. A man who knows the difference between performative grief and the bottomless, silent kind. Kody Brown performs grief. He wails for cameras, reenacts his victimhood, and monologues like he's auditioning for a Shakespeare play. But David? David has survived the suicide of a spouse. He has stood at the edge of the abyss and climbed back out. When you've lived through that, the tantrums of a narcissist like Kody Brown look like children playing dress-up. That is why David is unbothered. That is why he calls Kody's theatrics funny. And that is why Christine finally found peace. Not in a man who needed to be worshipped, but in a man who understands love, loss, resurrection, and truth. Because when a man has walked through hell and come back breathing, a man like Kody Brown doesn't look like a threat. He looks like a clown in a borrowed costume. But now we step into the part of the story that is equal parts spiritual, eerie, and heartbreakingly beautiful, the theory of permission from beyond. There are fans, entire communities who believe in signs. Feathers on the ground. A certain song that plays at the exact right moment. Dreams that feel more like conversations. And the sentiment is growing louder. David's late wife sent Christine.
Why?
Because Christine is the anti-tragedy. She is laughter instead of silence. She is warmth instead of cold. She is the exact medicine a grieving heart needs when it's time to beat again. If this were a lost tape, an unseen recording of the Woolley family's private thoughts, the dialogue would be chilling in its honesty. David's children looking Christine in the eye and saying, "Our dad has so much love to give, but he's afraid to give it. If you break him, you answer to us." And the truth is, Christine understands that kind of protection better than anyone, because she, too, has been broken. She, too, has lived in a home where love was rationed, earned, withheld, and weaponized. This is a bond Kody will never understand. Because Kody doesn't build bonds, he builds hierarchies. Kody demands loyalty. David's family commands respect. And the Woolley dynasty, yes, we're calling them that, represents something Christine never experienced in the Brown household, a healthy, functional family system. Because in the Brown family, the vetting process was always done by one man, one ego, one libido. Kody decided who came in. Kody decided the hierarchy. And the wives were expected to scramble, adjust, smile, and say, "Thank you for the privilege of being chosen." But in the Woolley family, the dynamic is flipped. It is communal, protective, almost tribal. David didn't bring Christine home and announce, "Deal with it." He integrated her. And what makes this even more legendary is the reported embrace. Critics say it moved too fast. That Christine jumped from the frying pan into the fire. But when you apply the divine intervention theory, the speed isn't reckless. It's destiny. When something is sent from above, you don't need 10 years. You just know. David knew. Christine knew. And most importantly, the family knew. It was almost as if the path was cleared for them. Now imagine this next scene, a moment we haven't seen, but can feel in our bones. David brings Christine to visit the resting place of his late wife. A place of memory. A place of grief. A place where the past and future finally shake hands. In Kody Brown's world, the past is a weapon. You didn't respect me 20 years ago. You hurt my ego. You stabbed me in the kidney. But in David's world, the past is a foundation. Introducing Christine to his grief wasn't a burden. It was a trust fall, a spiritual partnership, a declaration. If you hold my past gently, you can walk with me into my future. And by accepting that, Christine proved she wasn't just a partner. She was the queen David's heart had been waiting for. Not the queen of a harem, not the queen of a hierarchy, but the queen of a healed, rebuilt, resurrected life. This spiritual passing of the torch reframes David entirely. He isn't just a lucky widower who found love again. He is a chosen man, chosen by tragedy to endure, chosen by fate to rebuild, and chosen by love to rise again. And whom did he choose? The woman who spent 30 years believing she was unworthy of unconditional love. It is poetic justice of the highest order. And now, let's discuss David's presence, his green flag energy. In a reality TV universe dominated by toxic masculinity, performative grief, and men who want to be famous, David doesn't chase fame. He doesn't need validation. He isn't auditioning for a storyline. He is here for Christine, which perfectly aligns with the protective vetting theory. His family didn't approve Christine because they wanted him to be a TV star. They approved her because they wanted him to be happy. David Woolley is on camera because Christine needs him beside her. Not because he wants to be famous. Not because he wants screen time. Not because he wants to build a brand. He is there because his wife lives in the public eye, and supporting her means showing up. That is the difference between a partner and a prop. Kody Brown wanted props. People who made him look powerful, admired, worshipped. David Woolley wants a partner, someone he can walk beside, not stand above. And the permission from beyond theory doesn't just paint David as chosen. It casts Christine in a powerful, sacred role. She is the steward of a healed heart. That is not a light responsibility. That is not a casual, new relationship glow. That is a mantle, a torch, a blessing and a burden wrapped into one. But Christine carries it like she was born for it. Her glow isn't simply because she escaped Kody's emotional quicksand. It's because she stepped into a love that has been battle-hardened. David's love is not a teenage fantasy or a midlife crisis crush. It is a love forged in devastation, tempered by loss, and strengthened by survival. It is a love that says, I have seen the worst that life can do, and somehow I still choose to open my heart again. That is the kind of love Christine never had. And Kody knows it. The new theory, Kody is sabotaging the narrative. We have to address the rumblings, theories that Kody Brown is actively trying to smear this relationship behind the scenes. And it makes perfect psychological sense. Kody isn't jealous of David's money. He isn't jealous of his truck. He isn't even jealous of the affection he gives Christine. He is jealous of David's clean slate. Kody is covered in the mud of his own making. Years of gaslighting, favoritism, manipulation, ego tantrums, and emotional neglect. Meanwhile, David has scars, yes, but he is clean. His conscience is clear. His history is blessed by the people who knew him best. His late wife's family, who have every reason to be protective, suspicious, and cautious, do not merely tolerate Christine. They embrace her. And that is the greatest reference letter a man can receive. Kody's ex-wives? They are fleeing the empire he built. David's late wife's family? They are staying, supporting, and welcoming. The contrast is brutal, and Kody feels it. Every single day. Now for the chilling, beautiful, almost cinematic element. There is something almost mythical in the idea that Margaret, from the other side, looked down at the chaos of Flagstaff, saw Christine crying over nachos, being told she wasn't attractive, being spiritually starved for decades, and said, "That one. She is the one for David." It feels like a cosmic correction, a divine redirection, a love story written by hands we cannot see. And the audience clings to it because it makes suffering feel meaningful. It gives Christine's 30-year emotional drought a purpose, preparing her for a love that is not just romantic, but redemptive. The psychological vetting, the real test the Woolley dynasty's vetting process, wasn't superficial. They weren't asking about cooking, fame, or photo shoots. They were asking about mental health. Because here's the truth, living with a narcissist rewires your brain. Christine endured that for 3 decades. Surviving the suicide of a spouse changes your soul. David endured that in one night. 2 damaged people don't automatically heal one another. Often, they break each other. But insiders believe this was different. Their wounds aren't clashing. They are compatible. Christine needs to hear she is beautiful, wanted, cherished, gentle. He can be emotionally literate. He can be safe. That alone is a devastating indictment of Kody Brown. If the late wife's family vetted Christine, then Christine's children vetted David. That was the real moment. The moment cameras will never show. Imagine truly walking into a room, wary, quiet, protective of her mother. Imagine David kneeling down, level with her eyes, not demanding her respect, not asking for approval, just letting her choose. Those are the lost tape moments we will never see but can feel. Christine's kids approving David. David's kids approving Christine. 2 wounds meeting, and instead of inflaming, they fit. That alignment, that perfect dual approval from 2 different tribes, is why so many believe this was fate. This wasn't just 2 people falling in love. It was 2 bloodlines merging under the banner of healing. The silent nods, the moments that matter. The real story isn't in the confessionals. It isn't in the B-roll footage or the edited scenes. It's in the quiet, the way David's daughters nod when Christine walks into a room. The unspoken message, she's safe. She's the one. The way the air softens around them. The looks exchanged when Christine laughs like she hasn't laughed in 30 years. It is the permission from the past, from a woman who is no longer here, to embrace a future that almost didn't happen. And for Kody Brown, for the man sitting in his monochrome life of anger and confusion, that is the most terrifying thing of all. A happy ending he didn't authorize. A wedding he didn't control. A storyline he didn't write. A woman he discarded being cherished by a man twice the man he will ever be. That is Kody's nightmare. And it is unfolding in high definition. Now we enter the next chapter. The soulmate lie. To understand the magnitude of what David and Christine have, we must dismantle the lie Kody has clung to, the soulmate myth. Kody loves that word. He weaponizes it. He told Mary, his first wife, the woman who built the empire, that they were never soulmates. He brushed off Janelle, his equal, his challenger, as though she were a roommate. He labeled Christine, the heart of the family, a burden. And he saved the title of soulmate exclusively for Robin. But here's the growing controversy insiders are whispering. Kody's version of a soulmate isn't love. It's a mirror. He wants someone who reflects him, someone who worships him, someone who feeds his ego. That's not a soulmate. That's a fan. The contrast, battle-hardened love. Now look at David and Christine.
No matching necklaces. No style dances.
No teenage infatuation dressed up as spiritual destiny. Their love is built on scar tissue. It is mature. It is grounded. It is forged from pain and shaped by survival. David didn't want a woman to worship him. He wanted a woman to walk beside him. And when Kody screams about loyalty like a teenager whose girlfriend didn't text back, David brings a quiet, steady, heavyweight masculine energy that only comes from walking through hell and choosing hope anyway. He doesn't need to shout to be heard. He doesn't need to demand respect. He commands it simply by being present. That's why Kody is spiraling. He's witnessing a masterclass in true manhood, and for the first time, he realizes he skipped that lesson. But the story going viral isn't just about romance. It's about the permission theory. This is the part that gives Margaret somehow sent Christine to him. Skeptics may roll their eyes, but in this community, signs and the afterlife are taken seriously. Margaret, seeing David's long years of solitude, his devotion to raising their children, and his loyalty, and she didn't send just anyone. She sent a woman uniquely built to almost elicit every widower and every child who has lost a parent. Will Dad forget Mom? But David is the ultimate green flag man. He expands his heart instead of replacing it. Margaret is honored. Christine speaks of Margaret. She's included in the wedding, in conference is off the charts. Kody tried to erase his past. Here he wrote his like a badge of honor. If this were a storybook, it's Beauty and the Beast, but Kody became the always stranger, and far better than fiction.